Okay, thank you all for joining us this morning. We appreciate you being here. Today is really about justice. It is about justice for the thousands and thousands of families that have been adversely impacted by the heroin and the opioid crisis. Specifically, we are talking about the Opioid Settlement Fund Advisory Board that has yet to be fully staffed. The governor still has 4 appointees that have not been appropriately vetted. The mayor of New York City, Mayor Adams, still has a member that has not been seated and properly vetted. And that is important to the people standing at this podium today because we are talking about $265 million that is being appropriated to address the heroin and the opioid crisis. As many of you know, I had the good fortune of spending 15 years of my life as a member of law enforcement. Some of that time, or a portion of that time, was spent working in an undercover narcotics capacity. And in that capacity, along with my capacity as an elected leader in the Southern Tier and as a member of the task force on heroin and opioid addiction, not only I, but my colleagues in state government, my colleagues in law enforcement saw firsthand the death, the destruction, and the despair that this crisis has created. And as my colleagues can tell you, Senator Boyle can do this because he founded the task force in 2014, being one of the founding members. Other colleagues of ours had very emotional conversations with mothers and fathers, with brothers and sisters, with grandfathers and grandmothers who had been directly impacted by the loss of life, the loss of their loved ones. Those families that I speak about, those families deserve justice. I want to specifically applaud the work of our Attorney General. Our Attorney General has fought incredibly hard to ensure that Big Pharma is held accountable. By way of that accountability, the Attorney General and her staff have secured more than $1.5 billion in what I will describe as blood money. It is the truth, because that money was made on the backs of our loved ones, people that we had lost. And their profits were motivated by one thing, motivated by greed. So I will be the first to admit that you can never arrest your way out of an issue like this. But I will also say from this podium that you cannot blindly send money at the problem either. So very specifically, if you look at what we were able to accomplish in a bipartisan fashion, the advisory board was done in a bipartisan fashion. The lockbox that we speak of was done in a bipartisan fashion. Why? Because there are certain things that transcend politics. We all recognize that here today, that we need to continue to move forward to ensure that every single dollar gets into the hands of the community-based providers, the people who are on the front lines of this epidemic, the people who are on the front lines of fighting this fight every single day, to ensure that the investment is proper. The investment is one based in treatment, in recovery, and prevention, because that's what people who are suffering from addiction deserve. So I will say this, that the members of this conference are lucky to have a leader like Senator Ort, who continues to prioritize our advocacy. Under Senator Ort's leadership, we continue to put people before politics. We recognize the importance of addressing issues like this, and we recognize the importance of standing up and fighting for what is right.